Hey guys, this is the third part of a three-part video series called Are You Doing Too Much? In the first video we addressed the recovery curve and what it should look like when you're recovering properly from your workout and progressing accordingly, and a suboptimal recovery curve where somebody isn't recovering properly and is stagnating in his progress, not making progress. So if you haven't watched the first video, I would encourage you to do so you can understand this concept I was talking about a little bit more. And then in the second video, I was delving a little bit more into the causes of why these things can happen in either situation and what makes them happen, and how we get stuck in a suboptimal recovery pattern. That being said, today we're going to tackle a little bit more of the strategies to use when we're dealing with suboptimal recovery. How can we snap out of it? How can we improve things? How can we really optimize our training, optimize our recovery, optimize how we feel ultimately, because that's always the number one goal, right? We're all training for either a performance goal or for health goals, which in the end for both, whether it be performance oriented or health oriented, we're both looking at feeling better, right? We want to feel better in our performance, allow our training to improve our performance or improve our health, either way. Okay, so how to deal with improper recovery. So the first thing to do would be in identifying the cause. Why am I not recovering properly? Why is my recovery looking like this versus like this here? Okay, and the different causes, which I talked a little bit about in the second video, a little bit more in detail. So if you want to go ahead and watch the second part, that would make a little bit more sense what I'm going to talk about here. But once we identify the source, it can be one of these factors here. If it's overtraining, how do we address the situation? Okay, it could be overtraining, under recovering, lack of sleep, too much stress, because that can, as I talked about in the second video again, too much stress in your life can really impair your recovery, because your body perceives physical, mental, emotional stressors as all stress that it's taking its toll on the body. Some of the physiological reaction, if you will, are very, very similar, whether it be physical stress, emotional stress, or mental stress. And then there could be some other factors here that probably aren't as important but could also play a role. Okay, so now once we identify the source, is it one of these things here? Which one or which combination of all of these factors is causing our performance to drop, or it's preventing us from progressing? We can try to manage it accordingly. Okay, so this is what we're going to try to talk a little bit more about right now. Okay, so if we're overtraining, what's the easy solution, or the appropriate solution, should I say? It would be to depending on, is it overtraining caused by too much, like working out for too long, having training sessions that last like 2 hours, 2.5 hours every single day? Is it too much intensity? Is it because when you're going to the gym, you're just like completely crushing yourself? That's something that we see a lot with CrossFitters. The intensity of the CrossFit workouts are like through the roof, so for the most part. So we'll see a lot of that with CrossFitters. The training aren't necessarily super long, because usually the WODs in CrossFit last under 30 minutes. But guys are just like, guys and girls are just like completely destroying themselves, like leaving in a pool of sweat every single time, and they think that's what their body needs, which in reality that's not always the case. It can be good, it can have a lot of bad also. So is it too long workouts, too intense workouts, or too frequent workouts? Also that would also fall on the overtraining category here, because someone who works out every single day, or works out even twice a day, that's something that's a little bit more common in the bodybuilding circle, where guys will do 2 a day, split their body parts, and then just hit the gym a couple of times a day, which can be beneficial for very, very small percentage of the population, but detrimental for most, really. Okay, so that would be one thing. So we're adjusting the workouts accordingly. If we're doing too much volume, we're going to decrease the volume. If we're doing too much intensity, we're going to try and back off the intensity, or manage your intensity a little bit better. Go hard 1 or 2 days, go less hard a couple other days a week, and we can kind of manage the training intensity in that manner. And if it's too often, then again, it's pretty simple, right? We're just gonna cut down on the number of total workouts in the week. If we're under recovering, which, you know, overtraining and under recovering can be very closely related, because one can kind of be causing the other. Okay, but increasing rest between workouts, right? As I just talked about, if we're working out too often, increasing the duration of rest between the workouts can help, because if we're going back to the recovery curve here, you know, if you're not letting the recovery curve come back above your baseline, and then hitting the gym again and again and again and again before the recovery takes place, then that you're kind of limiting yourself here. Okay, and then sleep. If we're not sleeping enough, if we're sleeping less than 7 or 8 hours per night, or having bad quality sleep, we would address that with 1, try to sleep more, and 2, try to increase our sleep hygiene and try to increase or take more strategies in order for our sleep to get better. So what are the strategies? I'll probably make another video in the future to talk more specifically about that, but it's things as simple as cutting out electronics at least an hour to an hour and a half before bedtime, because those bright lights in your eyes are just sending a signal to your brain that it's not time to go in sleep mode yet, and then so it's preventing the melatonin production inside of you to kind of engage the sleep process, to make you tired, to make you want to go to bed. And it's been proven that those blue lights, that what it's called, from the electronic devices, TV, cell phones, tablets, all those things, can really interfere with that. So try to shut that down, making sure you're sleeping in a dark room, you're making a to-do list for the next day so you don't have like all these thoughts running through your head. So there's a lot of strategies that we're going to talk about in another video, but essentially we want to increase the duration of sleep and the quality of sleep by improving our sleep hygiene. Okay, if it's stress, that one can be a little bit more tricky, right? Because there are ways in which we can kind of mediate the stress response by working out. But then again, if like the workouts are too hard and it's putting you like in this situation here, or like even worse, you're just like kind of digging yourself deeper in the hole, it's not really benefiting you, right? So meditate. Before I get to that, the workout. So making sure sometimes the intensity of the workouts is appropriate, and then that can benefit our stress response. But also doing things like meditation, breathing exercises on a regular basis, once a day, multiple times a day, depending on how much stress you have in your life, physical, mental, emotional, all that stuff. Again, like it's all cumulative. So making sure that we're addressing the stress in that way, and if there's ways to reduce the stress in your life, then I would encourage you to take steps to do that. If it's with your job, if there's some changes you can make to make it less stressful, same thing in your relationship, if there's ways you can kind of mediate the stress response, that's kind of up to you. You would probably know what those steps would be, but that's always something good to do. Try to manage the stress in that regard. Try to manage those situations first, and then try to include some meditation, some breathing exercise, some yoga, maybe if that's something that speaks to you. And then again, like I put a little note here on decreasing the volume, because that again will directly impact your workout. So if you're really stressed, even though you're taking the necessary steps to meditate and breathe and all those things, maybe for a certain period of time you might have to lower your training volume in order to still have benefits. And that's something that guys don't always understand. I find myself having that same discussion with some of my athletes a lot of time. Is they think that they need, you know, this large amount of volume in order to progress, when in reality, when there's a lot going on in their life, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, they would actually progress more with doing less. And sometimes that can be really, really hard to understand. You know, and again, just going back to the recovery curve, if you're putting less stress on your body, if you're doing a workout that's going to take you in this position here rather than like putting you deep in the hole here, this is a lot easier to recover from than this here, right? So sometimes that makes sense. Doing more can actually benefit you more, and it's not super easy to understand where when we're drilled in a society that like more is always better, and it's always go 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 and work harder and harder. And you know, those concepts can really be beneficial and apply for a lot of people, but for other people, it's a manner, it's trying to see things from a bigger picture, you know, trying to understand what is actually going on. Why are you not making progress? And if it's because you're doing too much or being too stressed or one of these things, then you really want to address that. So, and then the third point here is be patient and progress. You know, sometimes you just gotta roll with what life throws at you, adjust accordingly. So as an example, what I'm going through right now in my life, my wife and I just bought a new house a few months ago, and then we're going through the stress of making some updates to the house before we move in, and that situation has proven to be you know, quite stressful for us, and navigating leaving our old house and moving into a new one with our little ones in the mix also. So that's not an easy situation, but knowing it's temporary, I can adjust my training volume, try to meditate and do more breathing exercise than I normally would, to try and really manage that appropriately and to still be making progress with my training. So that being said, and then the last part, I put a little asterisk there next to caffeine, because caffeine will often be a go-to for athletes and trainees to you know, get them fired up for their workout and really like push themselves. But when we're in a situation like this, where we're not recovering optimally, caffeine is probably going to be more your enemy than your friend, because it's going to give you this false sense of energy, this false sense that like you're ready to go, that you can crush it in the gym. So what's going to happen here is like you're going to set yourself deeper in the hole there than you normally would if you didn't consume caffeine before a workout. So this is really like a double-edged sword, using any caffeine or pre-workout formulations that will increase our perception of the energy that we have available, when in reality we really don't have that much. And a lot of times it's probably better just to roll with that. Just get to the gym tired, and you'll be better able to listen to your body and do just the amount of volume that you actually should be doing, that you actually have in the tank, not giving you a false perception of energy you don't have. So that's just a little side note here to keep that in consideration, and not try to like pound the coffee and the energy drinks before going to the gym thinking that it's going to benefit you. It's just going to set you up for failure, or even like a decrease in performance in your workout. So that concludes our third part series of Are You Doing Too Much? I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out, but post questions in the comment section below. Send me a message. And if you like the video, please share with people, like the video, subscribe to my channel. That makes a big difference for me again. And thank you for watching.